What's up guys, here it is, a 1x14 wireless group set. Let's go into it and see what's required to make it work. Alright, so Dirk Stock out of Germany, he was the mastermind behind the 1x13 SRAM group set that I've done before. I'll throw a link down in the description below so you can check that out. But he told me he had a 14-speed prototype that he was playing with. So that piqued my interest, and that is how this all began. So let's go through what is required for this setup. Now, you need a 14-speed cassette, obviously. So what we've done, we've taken a Campy ECar 13-speed cassette, we've taken the 936, and we've added a 42-tooth extender to it. Now, if you look at the Campy cassette, what is really cool is on the back side of it, you have 5 bolts. Now, these 5 bolts can be taken out. They're the same size as your disc brake rotor bolts. And Dirk Stock's actually taken a Aerozyne extender, 42 tooth, and he's machined it where the 5 arms will line up with where the 5 bolts go. And I used some titanium disc brake rotor bolts that I had here in the shop and put them in there, and it worked perfectly. I did have to use some spacers to make it, move a little bit away from the cassette to work, but it was just some washers that I had to use. It was really basic and simple. Now, Aerozyne is the only company that makes a 5-arm extender. There's actually, I think, Hope might make it as well, but those are the only 2 that I know of. Obviously, you're going to need a Campy N3W free hub body. Now, this free hub body is kind of rare right now. Now, DT Swiss, I know they have it, and several other companies have it now as well. I'm running some Novatech hubs, and Novatech does not have it right now. Now, they do have the license for it, but it's not available. They haven't produced it yet. So I was able to get Dirk Stock to actually produce that for me, or to machine a Campy free hub body to work with this. Okay, so now that we have the 14-speed cassette, we have to figure out how to shift it, right? Now, Dirk Stock, he actually has a mechanical 14-speed setup that he's taken the SRAM guts, altered the SRAM guts to be able to, run 14-speed with it. So if you like mechanical, you can contact him. I'll put his information down below, so if you want to contact him about the shifter, also about the extender or anything like that, you can reach out to him there. So I wanted to do something a little bit different, and there's a company called Archer Components, and they make a wireless shifter, and it can be mated to any rear derailleur that you want. Now what I did was I mated it to a TRP TR12 rear derailleur, which is their mountain bike rear derailleur that can clear up to a 50-tooth cassette in the back. And I just did that because obviously I have a TRP brakes on there. And Archer also makes what's called the DBR. This is their shifter, they call it a remote, that actually can go inside the TRP Hilux. Now, the TRP Hilux brakes are traditionally just single-speed brakes, but they do have it where you can run Di2, the SRAM blips, and now you can run the Archer components. Now, what's cool about Archer is you're not set at a certain speed. You can go anywhere from 2 speeds up to 20 speeds. So with that, with the app, you can actually go through and you can indent exactly where you want each gear to go. So with the 14-speed setup, I could pick exactly where I wanted it on the 9-tooth, the 10-tooth, and so on. And also when you get to the 42-tooth in the back, obviously that's going to be a little further dished in towards the spokes. I could make it shift a little bit further to go to that cog a little easier. So the Archer setup is very versatile, and what's cool about it as well is you can actually run any speed cassette on there. So if you have another wheel set that's maybe 12-speed or 11-speed, you can use the same shifter and rear derailleur. Okay, so the one tricky part about this was the ECar Chain, which is the 13-speed chain, and to make that work with a regular front chain ring that's designed for 11 or 12 speed, you actually have to Dremel down your teeth to be narrower, because the ECar chain is very narrow in the middle of it. So it will not fit on a regular 11 or 12 speed, and I think Ratio Tech right now is the only company who makes an ECar compatible front chain ring. So you could go with theirs if you wanted to, or you could Dremel yours. But then also in the back, when it came to the rear derailleur, the pulleys also have to have really narrow teeth. And my TRP obviously is not designed for the 13-speed chain, so it wouldn't work there. Now, if you wanted to, obviously you can use an ECar rear derailleur with the Archer as well, and it would be fine. The other issue was the larger Aerozyne 42-tooth extender is designed once again for 11 and 12 speed chains, and so it's a little bit wider than all the other cogs. So the ECar will not sit on it properly because it's just a little bit too wide. Now, Dirk Stock actually told me that he's been using a SRAM flat top chain with his ECar setup and has had no issues whatsoever. I think he's been using it for over 6 months now, maybe even longer. And so I measured the flat top chain on the outside, and it's actually identical to the ECar width. Now on the inside, that's where the ECar is actually, it takes up too much space. It's a lot tighter. So I have found running just the flat top chain with the ECar cassette to be perfect. It works with the front chain rings. You don't have to Dremel them down. You don't have to use any special pulleys or anything like that. And it clears on the cassette where it's not rubbing or anything because the width of it is identical to the ECar. All right, so now that we have it on the bike, let's run it through the gears in the stand and see how it works. All right, so let's run through the gears real quick. So the D1X you have to turn on with a little button here. Turns the light on there, and then you just hold down one of your buttons up here on the shifter, and then it will pair so that it's moving. So all right, let's run through the gears. We'll drop down to the 9-tooth. All right, so we're on the 9-tooth right now. 10, 11, 12, and so forth. All right, and then let's say we want to get up to through the gears pretty quickly. You can press the button, pretty fast, and it will go through them all like that. And then you want to drop some too. And then they also have a setup on the Archer where you can hold the button down, and you can preset like a number of gears that it will shift. This one's set for 3 right now, but I hold it down and it moves 3 gears at a time. So, I mean, you could actually set that up to go through the whole cassette if you wanted to. And once again, this is with the flat top chain. And then let's look at the chain line. Okay, and I found actually it's not loud when it goes up to the 42 tooth like I was expecting it to be. So, but let's run through the gears so you can get an idea of the chain line. And this is one of the major, kind of downsides of a 1x group set is, the chain line's a little extreme. But I will say with the newer chains, with them being a little narrower, and they're actually designed to go through all the, the gears and have this crazy bend to them. So right there, that's going to be your greatest bend right here on this setup. And it's honestly, it's not that loud, and it doesn't feel like it has much drag there whatsoever. So it's really impressive that all these gears can be kind of crammed in this area. All right, so it clearly works extremely well in the stand. Let's take it out for a spin and see how it actually does on the dirt. All right, so I'm on my second ride now with the 1x14 group set, and I'm really blown away by how well it is shifting, how quiet it is, and how quick it is. It really shifts much better than I ever expected, honestly, with the Sprint batteries in there. I'll try to show you here just how nice the shifting is. All right, so now we're going on the steeper part. You can see when I press the button, you can hear the shifting. Very, very quick. I'm in the 42 tooth on the back, so the easiest gear to climb. It's working great, and I can shift up. Shifts quick even when I'm in a slow cadence or low cadence. I was really concerned with these buttons, where they're located. I haven't had any issues as far as like accidentally hitting them. Kind of when you grip it and you're trying to stand up and really mash on the pedals, I haven't had any issues. But I do shift from the bottom too, which is nice. But yeah, it's not as much of the issue as I thought it was going to be. The main problem is when you're in the drops, it can be kind of hard to reach that forward one. You can see there, you're able to reach it, but it's just not as easy as the others. So just on the second ride so far, it is working great. I got the SRAM flat top chain on there, super quiet, even with the major cross chain going to the 42, which I'm in right now. It's a very, very sweet setup, very cool hack. All right, so after riding it a few times, it's been I think 2 times or 3 times I've been using it now, and it has performed way better than I could have imagined, actually. Shifting is quick, it's quiet, has tons of range. It also has really tight gaps between those cogs, so it's been working flawless for me. Now, the only downside really is the DBR remote. That forward button is a little harder to reach when you're down in the drops. You have to kind of move your wrist. It's not impossible, so that's good, but I wouldn't want to use it if I was in a crit or anything like that, where you're just constantly in the drops and you're always turning and braking. If you're doing like a gravel event or riding just, you know, training rides on long straight roads and stuff like that, it's not an issue. I actually was able to shift on some pretty rough gravel, just reaching up and pushing it. But now Archer is coming out with a new remote that actually is pretty cool. It's going to sit up under your stem, and then you'll have satellite buttons that go to your hoods. So with that setup, you can actually put the buttons wherever you want to. All right, so let's just do a real quick comparison between the 14-speed setup and also the new SRAM Explorer setup. So the Explorer is a 1044 12-speed cassette. It has 440% range there. With this setup is a 942, and it has 466% range. So it's a little bit more range than the Explorer, but the big advantage is in the smaller cogs. You have much tighter spacing on the smaller cogs. So if you're using your gravel bike for a road bike as well, like I'm doing, then you will appreciate these smaller jumps. So you can see with the ECar cassette that you have 6 teeth there that are 1-tooth jumps, and on the Explorer it's only a 1-tooth jump that you have there between the 10 and 11 tooth cogs. Now through the mid-range, the Explorer may have a little bit closer gapping than the ECar, and then obviously at the end they're pretty close on their gapping there. Now, the only major thing that I do not like about the ECar cassette is that 9-tooth. The 9-tooth is going to cause a little bit more drag than say an 11-tooth. Now, a 10-tooth is also going to cause more drag because the chain has to bend around it, and that bending it causes more drag. Now, a 10-tooth, I think it's around 6 watts is what it causes compared to 11-tooth. So you lose about 6 watts going to the 9-tooth, to the 10-tooth. Now, going down to the 9-tooth, it's probably going to be closer to like 10 watts loss is my guess. All right, what's really cool about this setup is if you wanted to, you could run some crazy mullet setup. I mean, you could take a 950 E13 cassette, throw it on there and have tons of range, and it'd be really cool because obviously you already have a mountain bike rear derailleur on there. Or you could throw on like a 1125 11-speed cassette and run it with the Archer as well for crit rides, or maybe some flat road rides or something like that. So it's really cool, the versatility of the Archer setup and how you really can run any gear you want to. Okay, so I'm going to ride this for about a month or so, and then I'll do another video just with a quick review on how it's been performing. I also plan to do some gravel races in December and January. I'll do those races and also report back and see how it's actually working. If you are interested in this and maybe like the mechanical setup, then contact Dirk Stock. He can actually get everything set up for you. And I probably will do a video as well setting up with Archer, just so you can get an idea of how that works. So thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to smash that like button, share it with any of your friends who are interested in going one by, subscribe to the channel. That helps me out tremendously, and we'll see you in the next video.